When you graduate, you'll be making 60K or more. You're very lucky and privileged. And I had made that in the last 30 days. So I was like, what am I doing in school? I made a lot of money. I think my most I ever made in a day was, I'd much rather compete against a bunch of 50 and 60-year-old dudes who've been in the industry for 30 years than a bunch of young, savvy 23-year-olds who are smarter than my ass. So there wasn't that feeling of like, now I can get this or now I can do this. The biggest thing about it was I bought myself freedom. And it wasn't about the money as much. It was about the competition and winning and building something.
All right, on this episode, there's some slight microphone issues that I apologize for. Some parts are a little bit fuzzy, but you can definitely bear through it. And if you can do me a huge favor, guys, go on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, as well as leave a 5-star review on whatever podcast you're listening to. That would mean the world to me. I hope you guys enjoy this episode with someone who's made a lot of money on Amazon. It's going to be a good one. All right, well, let's get the party started then. Bro, I'm super honored for... By the way, you don't do a whole lot of these, do you?
I don't do any of these. This is the first one I've done, Tom.
Dude, in the past 2 weeks, I popped 2 people's podcast cherry. You're one of them. So I'm the podcast cherry popper.
There's nobody I'd want to pop my podcast cherry more than you, Tom.
Perfect, dude. So you and I, we met at a Amazon seller conference about, I would say 2019 or 18.
Yeah, right before COVID kind of hit.
Yeah. It was in Vegas, and the room was full of like, older people. And then I see this like cool looking young guy with like, I saw your keychain was like a Lamborghini and a G-Wagon. It's like, all right, I can vibe with this guy. And then we just became friends, follow each other on social media. And what connected us as well is I sold my business to Thrasio. You sold your business to Thrasio. So first of all, thank you so much for coming on. I'm super excited to actually pick your brain today and share this content with my viewers. But before we even dive in, I want to know a little bit about like how you even started all of this at the first place. Like, what was your childhood like? Were you like one of those kids that like sold lemonade on the corner, on the street corner and stuff like? Always had some sort of a side hustle, or?
Yeah, I mean, I was always kind of an entrepreneurial kid growing up. Like you said, I sold stuff from the Oriental Trading Company magazine, so little trinkets and toys to all my friends. Kind of just the same thing as a lot of entrepreneurs, right? So did that, then ended up kind of putting some of the entrepreneurial stuff on the side as I got more involved in like school, sports, stuff like that. And then my freshman year of college, I kind of hopped back into it. I wanted to make some side cash and started doing affiliate marketing, driving paid traffic online, et cetera. And that kind of took off. So I ended up dropping out of school my freshman year of college and kind of ran with that from that point forward. And then eventually that evolved into owning an agency, selling the agency, starting consumer brands. It's just kind of how we met, selling consumer brands. And that's kind of been the wheelhouse that we've fallen into so far.
Damn, dude. So where did that entrepreneurial spirit comes from? Like, did you see were your parents like entrepreneurs? Or?
No, they weren't. I think I'm a very competitive guy. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are very competitive, right? So grew up very competitive. Again, played sports, did all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, I see all the medals you win from your drinking contest on the weekends.
Oh yeah, definitely my best sport now is beer Olympics. So not playing a lot of serious sports anymore, but yeah. So I mean, I think it was just kind of that competitive nature, and then I mean, obviously, like a lot of other people, I mean, growing up, I liked money. So I think kind of putting those two things together when you're competitive and you want to make money and succeed, I think you kind of naturally fall into that lane.
Was there a moment where you realized you love money? I mean, everybody loves money. I think if you ask 99% of the people in the world, do you love money? I think even though some people say no, they're kind of lying to themselves. I think everybody loves money, but not everybody's like willing to like work hard for the money. Like, was there a specific moment where you remember like, oh man, like I want to be rich when I grow up?
Tom, I literally forever. I would make my parents play Monopoly with me every night to the point where they would like fake lose and like hide their own money because they get sick of playing Monopoly with me because I just want Monopoly. I legitimately, this sounds ridiculous, but as part of like IQ test type thing, when you're young, they go and you do like the whole thing with the psychologist and do all that stuff. And one of the notes on his, like, whatever you want to call it, review of me, if you will, literally said oddly obsessed with money when I was like 6 years old. So obviously I've kind of been obsessed with it my entire life, I guess. So
Nice, solid, man. Well, you know how to make money and you know how to spend money.
Or those are my two favorite things to do, Tom.
Yes, sir. So you got into agency first and then affiliate marketing?
So affiliate marketing off the bat. So basically just started launching. I legitimately, I mean, to tell you the real story, I came back one night from being out in college, back to the dorm, and it was probably 3 a.m. and it was on, the TV was on like CNBC or MSNBC, one of those channels. And I saw some guy who had sold his business for like $3 or $4 million. He was like 25 years old. And in a somewhat drunken state, I was like, I want $3 or $4 million. So I actually wrote down all the different words that he was saying, from Google AdSense, WordPress, affiliate marketing. And then the next day, in a more coherent state, I went and Googled and started trying to learn what the hell he was talking about. And from there, kind of just took off. So then started building content sites, built out supplement review websites, so protein, pre-workout, et cetera. Built out websites around celebrity net worth, just anything and everything that kind of the AdWords tool back in the day would show me there was search volume for. Learned kind of the basics of SEO and kind of how to rank in Google. And then that was kind of the heyday of SEO. So stuff really took off, and all of a sudden I'm sitting in class and professors talking about how when you graduate from, I went to a school called the Carlson School. It's like the good business school at the University of Minnesota. And he's basically saying when you graduate, you'll be making 60K or more. You're very lucky and privileged. And I had made that in the last 30 days. So I was like, what am I doing in school? Yeah. So I ended up dropping out and kind of just built the business from there.
Dude, talk to me about the early days of affiliate marketing. Which year was this, by the way?
This would have been like 2009, 2010.
Dude,
like 2010.
I've heard stories about affiliate marketing days back then. I met these group of guys in Vancouver. They said they were literally printing money like the feds are doing. Like they got a money printer. And the beautiful thing with affiliate marketing is that you get paid, well, they got like paid out daily, and there's no inventory cost and there's no cost of goods sold. It's just ads. And I asked them like, hey, what's the most you made in one day? The guy's like, yeah, I made $500,000 in one day. And the next day I went straight to the Lamborghini dealership and bought a Aventador. Is there like, is he over exaggerating, or is he like?
No, probably not. I mean, it was, like I said, it was chaotic. I mean, you even look at like right now, and you don't have kids graduating school with degrees in paid media, paid advertising. Nobody has a Facebook ads degree, right? Back then, I mean, paid advertising in general was exponentially more naive than it is now. I mean, so nobody was doing it. So it was basically young, savvy guys that were hopping into this space. There's a bunch of inventory you could buy, extremely low rates. A lot of the big Fortune 500 companies and other players hadn't really moved ad budgets or gotten anything over to running Google, Facebook, all these different paid media sources, I mean, display, whatever. So yeah, I mean, you could get insanely cheap clicks. And if you had good offers and you could push it, I made a lot of money. I think my most I ever made in a day was probably 200 or 300K on acai diet pills. Random.
So you were selling someone else's product.
Yeah. So it was all affiliate commission. So you got like, obviously you own your own brands. It's kind of what me and you do now. Yeah. You have drop shipping where you're kind of pretending to own the brand, but you're drop shipping someone else's product. And then affiliate marketing, you're just getting a straight commission, right?
You're the salesperson.
You're a salesperson. So then if somebody clicks on the link that I provide and then they purchase these diet pills, and I get a 20% commission on a $50 sale, that's $10 in my pocket. So as long as I'm able to generate sales for less than $10, I'm in the green, right? And then you can just scale that. So that was exactly what we were doing back then. Again, it was a mix of affiliate marketing and just standard paid ads, sponsored content, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I mean, it was the Wild West back then. You could turn on bots to build backlinks for you and rank in Google in 2 weeks and be driving hundreds of thousands of visitors to your sites.
And I heard you can put like Oprah Winfrey, like, oh yeah, this is approved by like whoever, just the craziest claims, and like no one will care and people eat it up.
I mean, you weren't supposed to, but people did for sure. I mean, I have a buddy who was sued by 3 of the 4 people on Shark Tank because of claims that he made back in the day. So yeah, like I said, it was the wild west, if you will, back in the good old affiliate days. But
dude, it
was a fire that burned bright, but it was short lived. A lot of guys would lose their hats overnight. I mean, a Google algorithm change would come in, and you got somebody who's doing 5 million visitors a month to a website. All of a sudden, it's de-indexed, and they go from going to the Lamborghini dealership like your buddy to buy an Aventador to swinging by the next day trying to return it. Like,
Hey, what's
like
what's the refund policy on these?
yeah. Could I
Yeah.
maybe just trade for a Gallardo?
Yeah, exactly. What was what type of offers did you sell? Like you talked about some supplements. Was I like, why supplements? Like I've seen so many affiliate marketers do supplements only. I mean, there's so much other stuff that people can sell online. Why supplements?
I think supplements are just really, really conducive to offering large commissions because the product cost of what you sell them for is just so crazy, right? So, I mean, I actually owned a supplement company called Neuropharm back in the day. It was like an early like concentration pill. So basically it was L-theanine and caffeine was the core of the product called New Matrix. And we could make that product for $1.22 and we could sell it for $60, right? You just can't find that. You just can't find that in a lot of spaces. Supplements are extremely cheap to manufacture and you can sell them at a high premium. So I think that's just extremely conducive to offering insane affiliate commissions.
Yeah.
So like back when I was pushing acai berry diet pills and stuff like that, it was 60% commissions on sales. So I mean, if you're selling a thing for $60 and you get 60% on it, you're getting $36. That leaves you a lot of wiggle room from an affiliate standpoint.
Do you think that affiliate marketing, do you think this is a good channel for current consumer brand owners to tap into, to have other affiliates like pushing their own, like I'm the owner of the acai bowl, or not acai, You're not selling acai bowl. It's
no,
acai pills.
Insane, yeah.
But do you think, now that you're on both sides, do you think that this is a strategy that some D2C owners should look into or no?
I think so. I mean, we push a lot through affiliate marketing and then just creators in general. So, I mean, and you can even see it starting to happen too. I mean, Amazon recently launched something called Creator Connections, which is essentially an affiliate program but baked into the back end of Seller Central that we're utilizing a lot of right now. So, basically the same idea. And when it's business 101, right? I mean, when you can incentivize somebody and it's in their best interest and your best interest both align for the same goal, you're going to end up with really good results generally, as long as they're willing to put in the work. And it's really good from a business standpoint too, because you can bake in guaranteed profitability in an affiliate program, which is really hard to do with paid ads, really hard to do with just about any other advertising channel.
Yeah. So, okay. So in 2000 so affiliate marketing days. And then, so what happened to that? Was that like, the Google?
I still own that company, the media company. We don't drive nearly the numbers that we used to that we did back in the day, but I still own a handful of content sites. We drive millions of visitors a month through our media sites. But I kind of came to a conclusion when I was probably 22 years old or so. I was like, I'm really good at driving traffic online. I should do this for companies. So started a marketing company, agency, if you will. We got some pretty good clients. We had Zurich North America was, for example, someone that we did a lot of work with. University of Minnesota, University of Iowa, driving students to apply, stuff like that. And then I just quickly realized about a year and a half into that company that I hated working with clients.
Yeah.
I hated the grind of the back and forth and just like not being able to do what I knew was going to be effective, et cetera, et cetera. So I ended up selling that entire agency off to one of the minority partners that I owned it with. And then I hopped back into the media space. Started driving more affiliate stuff, started driving more what is Lil Wayne's net worth type content, just whatever is getting.
Wait, how do you make money? How do you make money from what is Lil Wayne's net worth content? So someone come onto the page and then what? They buy, then you sell them the pills?
You don't sell them anything. You're just getting ad clicks. So in that position, you have a content site, and the easiest way is just using like what's called like the AdSense program would be an example. There's a million ways to monetize these sites with paid ads, but basically, you put a little snippet of code from Google. So Google's got AdWords, they got AdSense, Display Network. You just put that code on there, it loads the ads onto the site, and then you're getting paid by every time that somebody clicks on an ad, you're getting $1.50, right? So then if you get a click-through rate of 3%, every 100 people who come to the site, you're getting 3 clicks, you're getting $1.50 each. That's $4.50 per 1,000 visitors. Now you scale that to 1 million visitors a day. You can kind of do the math and figure out how that can be reasonably lucrative. So that was kind of the other side of it. So
content sites. So I had a friend of mine, Jackie. He's big in the SEO space. I interviewed him a couple weeks ago, and he also has a bunch of like niche down content sites. So other than selling other people's things and the AdSense, is there any other way to monetize a content site, or are those pretty much the two main ways?
If you're willing to, I mean, the best way to monetize a content site by far, which is one of the ways that we do it, is native and sponsored content. So basically what you'll do is, let's say, for example, you own a mop company, which is a company that I used to own. I would go and find a site that's maybe like a mom blog about cleaning or a website that reviews cleaning products, etc. And then you work hand in hand with them to basically make maybe a product review article or any type of native content on it, and then you pay them directly for the placement fee. And that's where the big money's made. It's essentially to generate backlinks and exposure. Google doesn't like the idea of you paying for backlinks, if you will, but you're not going to get prosecuted. Nothing's going to happen because of it. But that's where you make the big money. So if you have a content site that ranks well, has good traffic on it, the value of someone writing an article about my mop and then linking to my Amazon product. And now my Amazon product moves from, when someone searches best mop in Google, from the 8th spot to the 2nd spot because it has all these backlinks. That's generating me another 5,000 people a month to my product page. You're an Amazon guy, you understand this.
Yeah.
5,000 people a month, you got a 50% conversion rate. You're getting 2,500 more sales. You throw that into the algorithm, it starts compounding. There's a lot of value there. So I think that's far and away the best way to monetize content sites if you're willing to kind of dip your toes into native and placed content.
So how did this Amazon FBA journey come about? When did you discover Amazon FBA?
So basically while I was doing that, I met my business partner currently, Jake, who I think you've met as well. And I was doing, like, again, affiliate marketing. And most of my commissions in affiliate marketing were 10% commission. So I go help somebody sell $1 million in product, I'd get $100,000, right? And I'm spending money on ads, I'm building content, I'm doing a bunch of stuff to generate that $100,000. I'm talking to Jake one day at a happy hour. We worked in the same office building here in Minneapolis. And Jake legitimately tells me he's making these silicone drinking straws for $1, and he's selling them for $15 on Amazon. And I'm sitting here doing the math in my head. I'm like, why am I driving millions of dollars in sales for somebody else when we could just own the freaking brands? It was almost like a light bulb moment. So, yeah. So I was like, Jake, let me just buy half this company with you and we'll just scale a bunch of brands together. And that's kind of how it all came to be. So just kind of the natural progression of helping other people sell stuff to realizing that the value is actually in you owning the brand and then using your skills to scale it. And again, one problem with affiliate sites is you just don't get paid a very good multiple if you ever try to sell them. I mean, you're getting maybe a 3x off of your net profit, whereas a consumer brand, you get 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 15 based on kind of your trajectory, where you're selling, et cetera. So the real value generation is in owning the brand itself versus being the one driving the sales. Yeah.
And which year was this? When did you have that happy hour with Jake?
It would have been 2018. So I've been about a year before I met you.
Oh, wow. So dude, you got into the Amazon game for some reason I thought you were in the game for since 2015, like the Jungle Scout early, oh wow. No. Gotcha.
I came in late.
So 2018. So obviously you had a lot of transferable skills that you brought over. So this is not like starting from scratch. So since 2018, I know that you in 2020 or 2021, you sold a couple brands to Thrasio. So talk to me about those 2 brands that you ended up, or is it 2 or 3? It was 2, right?
Oh, we sold 2 brands to Thrasio. Yep. So
gotcha. So what were those? Yeah. What were those brands? When did you start them? I'd love to ask you some questions about those 2 brands specifically.
Yep. So the 2 brands, one was called Turbo Mops, and it was a microfiber mop, basically a mop with reusable pads. And then we also sold pads that were reusable for your Swiffer wet jets, Swiffer sweepers, et cetera. So that was Turbo Mops. And then we had another brand called Swedish Wholesale. That was a cellulose sponge cloth, so like reusable cloths, almost like a paper towel alternative / dishcloth, right? All eco-friendly, strong products. And then those kind of took off really aggressively too. I mean, they were always doing really, really well. We were top sellers in health and household with both products. I think we were the number 2 selling mop on Amazon before COVID.
Wow.
And then when COVID hit, obviously cleaning in general kind of went crazy. And one thing that we've been very fortunate in our business is we've always been well capitalized. My background, we made a lot of money in affiliate marketing, so we never had to take on cash. We never needed to really fight to get capital.
Yeah.
So we always stayed extremely, extremely high on the inventory side because of kind of how an algorithm works, right? So sometimes you catch that flywheel and it goes crazy, and the last thing you want is to go out of stock and lose that momentum. So we kept a ton of inventory stateside. So when COVID hit and everybody else couldn't get manufacturing, couldn't get inventory, everything shut down, we had a ton of inventory. So we were able to ramp up aggressively during that time and really strike while the iron was hot. So that went pretty crazy. We were doing, $3-4 million a month for those products during COVID. And then we kind of helped that trajectory. We're moving pretty good numbers. I mean, we were doing well over $20 million a year, trailing 12 months when we sold this brand.
Dude, why cleaning? Like, what got you guys into cleaning products? You and I had this discussion last time. Love for you to. I asked you about your current brand, which we'll get to. But why? How did you guys pick those niches?
I mean, it's a combination of a few things, right? So everybody pulls the data set. So you're looking at stuff, trying to find soft spots in the market. But if that's all you're doing, you're going to end up in a space where you and 15 other people settle on the exact same product, right? If all you're doing is looking at numbers, the numbers are going to lead everybody to the same conclusion. So it's a combination of validating it with numbers, but then also trying to find the least sexy spaces that we can. Everybody and their mom wants to own the prettiest clothing brand or supplement company or maybe a cool bar or restaurant or anything like that. And all that kind of seems to drive is competition. So everybody and their mom wants to own something cool, right? So we've kind of taken an approach of like looking for spaces that aren't sexy, that you try to talk to somebody at a party about your company, they get bored within 2 minutes. So that's really kind of how we've settled on a lot of the products and brands that we've launched, is just what's lucrative and at the same time boring.
Yeah.
And then also too, like cleaning products in general, based on what they are, is there's a little bit of regulation around this industry, which a lot of people consider like a moat, right? They'd say, oh, I don't want to like, or not a moat, they consider it like a barrier.
Yeah.
Where we would consider it a moat. So the harder some space is to meet compliance regulations, to meet that kind of stuff, that just scares away 9 out of 10 of the people that you'd be competing against. And a lot of the time it scares away the really savvy young people as well. I'd much rather compete against a bunch of 50 and 60-year-old dudes who've been in the industry for 30 years than a bunch of young, savvy 23-year-olds who are smarter than my ass. So
Yeah. You wanna go against the boomers.
I want to go against the boomers. That's what I want to be.
So with the mob, was it which category, sizing tier were you guys in? Was that a small oversized?
Oversized.
Oversized.
Yeah, small oversized.
Wow.
So it was expensive.
So you did everything that every single Amazon course told you not to do.
Exactly.
You took the list and you're like, all right, Tom says do this. All right, I'm just gonna do the other way.
Everybody else is going off these things. When everybody zigs, you got to zag, right? So we tried to avoid anything that would lead to competition. So our competitors were legitimately, I mean, Rubbermaid and like large conglomerates that also didn't know what they were doing on Amazon.
Yeah, you were saying that. You were like, these companies are way too big. They have no idea what they're doing. And they can't move fast.
They can't. I mean, we watch it day in and day out where they have probably 6 layers of people they got to go through to approve a keyword in an ad campaign. That's the best thing I could ever have happen on earth.
Yeah.
We have competitors still. Like, we're crushing it on TikTok right now. I mean, we're driving millions a month in sales from TikTok.
Wow.
And our competitors aren't on that yet because it wasn't probably approved in their budget that was approved 18 months ago to deploy capital into TikTok.
Yeah.
So I think, we take a little bit of a different approach than most Amazon sellers, but also we're fortunate enough to have capital and experience to be able to do that, where it would be a lot more difficult if you weren't well established probably to do some of those things.
Yeah. So what are some downsides of selling something that's not as sexy then? Like
people think you're a nerd. No, I mean, downsides are a lot of time it's very boring. It's competitive. If you've ever went through a PPC campaign, there's nothing more boring than auditing 10,000 keywords about a mop or a cleaning tablet or something like that. It's just grind, right?
Yeah.
But in general, I like it a lot more than everything else.
I asked you last time, because the number one thing that, you say, oh, I sell these products. The number one question I had right off the bat, I was like, because I've always been taught in order to do marketing, you need to sell a sexy product or you need to make something sexy. So the question is like, well, how the hell do you make a mop sexy? And then you told me last time when I had the call, you basically work with a lot of influencers where it's a very organic approach. So they will do something along the lines of like, hey, I'm going to show you 5 ways to clean your dishwasher today. And then at the end of that, they plug in your product, and that seems like a very nice bridge, very nice transition. And it doesn't even come as a salesy. So back in 2018, 2019, when you launched the mop brand, was that a similar approach that you did? Or was that something
very
different?
Organic. And then also kind of just stepping back to what you were saying there is you want to have something sexy to sell, right? But you don't have the product itself doesn't have to be sexy. It can be the message itself. Okay. So the sexiest thing that we talked about at the beginning of this call is money, right? Mm-hmm. So we kind of would put a spin on the mop and the mop pads that were reusable microfiber mop pads. We're not talking about how awesome the mop pad is, but we're talking about how much money you're going to save not having to buy Swiffer pads every month for $10 from Walmart. So there's nothing sexier than spend $15 and save $120 over the course of the next year. That's a sexy pitch to a lot of people.
Absolutely.
So being able to kind of take an approach where we're not selling as much the product as we're selling the savings. And it also changes the consumer mindset at that point where they're almost feeling like they're not being sold something. They're feeling like, you know what, I'm
being helped.
I'm going to lose. Yeah, I'm being helped. And I would be an idiot to keep paying this much. Why would I not just buy this? This is actually, I'm putting in $10 into this magic box to pull out 100.
So that's a messaging right there, right? The messaging is that we can help you to save money, but there's many different other messaging out there. And I think one of the harder things to do, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is at the very beginning, you don't know which message is actually going to resonate with the audience. 100%. So what is your approach when it comes to, do you just like test out a bunch of hooks, test out a bunch of marketing angles to see like which click-through rate is better, and then kind of drop everything else and double down on that messaging? Or what is your thinking process around that?
For the most part, that's the biggest part of it is we're testing a lot of stuff and we're seeing kind of what's resonating and what's hitting. And a lot of the time too, I mean, different messaging will hit with different demographics of different customers, right? So what might be the saving money, you save $100 on reusable pad or by using reusable pads. That's not going to resonate with somebody who makes $500,000 a year, the same as the eco-friendly messaging. Yeah. So we'll try to like settle in on a few different, I guess, sales points or things that really are those messages that help sell the product. And then we'll kind of curate those to the demographics and the different consumer bases where they'll do the best. So we have ad campaigns that'll hit on something completely different when we're targeting this segment versus an ad campaign hits on something completely different when we're targeting this segment. So that's one thing that we try to figure out. But again, you generally find one or two that really hit the ball out of the park. And those are where the majority of your ad budget and your efforts go.
Right. So something super interesting. I was Manscaped, right?
Yep.
So Manscaped, I heard a podcast where, dude, those guys crushes it. But I mean, it's a glorified razor. If you think about it, it's the craziest product. It's a fucking razor. It's been around for a long time. But they added, so the guy who started Manscaped, at first he launched a bunch of ad campaigns, and they were all about like the features of the product. Like, hey, our razor is XYZ thinner than this. Our blade is made out of aluminum, which is like blah, blah, blah. And then like, apparently he was on the verge of like almost going out of business. And then one of his employees one day, he was like, you know what? Why don't we just throw a Hail Mary right now? Why don't we do something absolutely insane? And I'm sure you've seen those Manscaped ads, right? Where they're like,
100%.
Yeah, they're like
everyone has.
Yeah, they're like the craziest, like funniest, like most absurd ads of like some bomb drops and then and anyways. So they're like, hey, let's just test that. And then like those are the ads that ended up working. So I think the lesson learned here is that not all messaging is going to work. But I think a lot of entrepreneurs get into business and they only test one message. And that message comes from their mind. They're like, hey, I think this message will work. And they don't test any other messages. They don't test any other audiences. And I think you always, that's the hard part of being an entrepreneur, right? Because you're always constantly running these experiments. And the reason why it's called an experiment is you don't know the outcome. If you know the outcome, it's not called an experiment anymore, right? So you got to be okay with actually the experiment. You're like being an entrepreneur, like especially for you guys, like running a lot of ads, you're like a data scientist. You're like literally someone instead of someone mixing like chemicals and potions, like you're just like running ads online. But it's the same thing.
That's exactly it. And I think people, like you said, I mean, it's really easy to fall in love with an idea. Yeah. You have a concept that you're like, this is an awesome concept. This is going to knock it out of the park. And then you put all your efforts to it. And then if it doesn't work, it's extremely it brings you down. Right? Yeah. So totally. The amount of times that we've hired influencers, especially like high priced influencers or different people to push our product. And then it ends up, we have somebody randomly that we pay $100 to make a little post with. And then that person's ad is converting at 3 times the return on ad spend as the superstar. Happens all the time. And it feels like you're rolling dice some of the time. But that's where it goes back to what you're saying, Tom, is you gotta throw a bunch of stuff at the wall. You gotta try different things. You gotta shoot your shot, and then you gotta run with what the data confirms. Yeah.
So you grew that business. You had 2 businesses, and you grew that business, and then you ended up selling to Thrasio. What made you decide to exit?
It was a combination of things. Over COVID, obviously, it was like very stressful. It was kind of a burnout. We were just going, trying to keep product in stock, trying to make sure everything was going well. There's some personal stuff in me and my business partners' lives that was a little stressful at the time. Mm-hmm. And then you kind of compounded that with just how frothy the market was in general. Mm-hmm. I mean, every valuation was sky high. Again, I wasn't in love with mops. I wasn't in love with dishcloths. But that's one nice thing about having non-sexy products is you don't generally fall in love with your product or the brand itself. So just a combination of all those things kind of led us to say, you know what, let's go test the market and kind of see what kind of valuation or what kind of exit we could get right now. Mm. And as you know, at that time, there was an insane amount of money had been raised by a lot of FBA aggregators. Every time you would Google the word aggregator, you would see $700 million raised, $1 billion raised, this, that. So it just felt like a really good time. And I think it was. So that was really the driving force, is kind of all those things culminated in us wanting to see kind of what an exit was like. And on top of that, the skill sets that we had and that you have, it's very repeatable. Mm-hmm. So I never had the feeling that like this was my one golden goose. Once I sell this, I'm never going to have another thing. I was like, we could turn around and do this again with a different brand. Mm-hmm. Why do we not just take a bunch of money off the table and find something new and fresh and run with that? And
did you go through a broker, or you went directly to the aggregators?
I self-shopped it, actually.
You what?
So I self-shopped. I reached out to every aggregator individually, and we didn't hire anybody to help us sell, which I definitely pros and cons on that. But I'd had a few exits in my past from like my media business and whatnot. So maybe naively, I was like, I can do this. Yeah. I'm going to save that few percent.
Yeah.
I think it worked out well.
Dude, that few percent for you, it's a lot of money, man. Like
it was a big,
a few million bucks.
Yeah.
So you ended up selling to Thrasio around $20 million, right? You said, with the two brands?
Yeah. So it was just over 20 million cash at close. And then we had a earn out as well. So basically just a few different things pegged to trying to make sure that we hit different figures on a revenue standpoint and a profitability standpoint over the coming years. And then there were different payments, a few $1 million here, a few $1 million there, based on hitting these different milestones, if you will.
Right. So, I mean, you've come across money before your exit. So this is not your first time. Like, you were a millionaire much, back in the days. But I would assume this probably was one of your bigger paydays. So
that was one of the bigger in like a wire transfer to the bank account. Yeah, that was a nice one. So
what was that like for you when it happened, and what was it like after it happened? Was there anything that was kind of surprising to you at all? Or did your life literally like not change at all? You're like, oh, cool, I have more money now, but like I'm still the same guy doing the same shit.
I think you expect like bigger things. You expect to go out and go crazy. I mean, I already had most of the stuff that I wanted. I already had the condo that I'm in right now. Like, I already had the exotic cars, the different stuff. So there wasn't really like a thing that I had my eye on, which a lot of entrepreneurs, when they get that first bag, right, they're like, okay, I've always wanted the Lamborghini. I've always wanted the boat, whatever they had. And I was lucky enough to have most of that stuff. So there wasn't that feeling of now can get this, or now I can do this. Yeah. The biggest thing about it was I bought myself freedom. As soon as that 30-day period ended after signing the papers and I was hands off, that was a really good feeling, to not have to log in and not have to wake up in the middle of the night with cold sweats of a Amazon violation.
Yeah. Seller-performance at Amazon.com.
Yeah, exactly. Just the heart attack. So that was a big thing, was kind of having that weight off the shoulders. And then you kind of I think everybody else, when you have a big amount of cash and you're an entrepreneurial dude, I'm sure, you were the exact same way. You can't just sit on money. How do I put this to work? Yeah. What do I do? Yeah. So then it opens up a whole new world of, now, even though you thought that you're gonna have all this free time, now you're trying to figure out how to deploy this capital. Yeah. How to make this money work for you. So
how'd you do that? What was your strategy when it comes to deploying capital?
Obviously threw some in the stock market, invested in a few different businesses, talked to you, joined a group of guys, and kind of found some passive investments as well through them. And just kind of played in a bunch of areas that I hadn't, that just seemed cool and exciting, maybe to a fault, because I feel like you end up, every entrepreneur gets what I call shiny object syndrome. I mean, you can see the potential in opportunities so well. Yeah. But that can kind of misguide you sometimes, where all of a sudden you're spreading yourself super thin and you're trying a bunch of stuff because you can see the opportunity and you're not thinking about the downsides. So and then I put a lot of time into learning tax strategy.
Gotcha. Yeah, dude, in the States, you guys got some crazy tax strategies that you guys can use, accelerated depreciation. You can buy a gas station right off 25 years of and then get cash flow. Dude, in the States, like, trust me when I say this, it's a lot easier to make money in the US and keep your money in the US than it is like anywhere else in the world. Like, it is so pro-capitalism there. Like, people want you to get rich. And that's why everybody from all over the world flock to the US. And that's why American dream is the thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, they built it. I mean, the entire tax code is built off, like you said, capitalism and entrepreneurship. They're driving that. I mean, the tax code is what, like 6, 7, 8 pages about what you owe taxes for, and then another 800 about how you can owe less. Like, like they want to incentivize behavior. Right? Yeah. So they want you to invest in businesses. They want you to invest in it. I mean, this is random, kind of off a tangent, but like you can even see it when the U.S. population started to slow down and the population growth was stagnating and going down. They created a tax credit for having kids, and it reversed the trend, and people started having kids again. Like, they use the tax code to incentivize behavior in this country. Yeah. Million different ways. Yeah,
it's like what Charlie Munger said, right? It's like, show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome. Like, the incentive is the most important thing, and we're all incentives driven. So if you're a business owner 100%. Listening to this right now and you're trying to make someone do something, just think of an incentive that is both aligned. Like, you gotta make sure the incentive is aligned. It's not so much one lopsided. So after we sold our business, we invested in, like, I have a spreadsheet of like probably, I don't know, 50 deals at this point, like real estate, stocks, this and that.
You were wild.
Yeah. Like, I went into it hard. And what's really interesting about what I did is that now I look back, it's been about 3 years. I can clearly see which investments have done well, which ones have done okay, and which ones sucked. From your experience, I'm sure you invested in a bunch of deals as well. What were some of the better investments, and what were some of the investments you were like, I'm never touching this again?
I mean, one thing that I think was, and this is going to sound stupid, but the investments that have been the best are the ones that I can actually have my hand in and help manipulate the outcome, right? So I rolled a ton of my money into what's called an opportunity zone fund, tax strategy. I don't want to get into all that right now. We can talk about that a different time if you want. Yeah. But essentially started acquiring a lot more content websites and stuff where I can kind of use my skill set to help make sure that the returns that I'm shooting for are generated without requiring too much time and too much effort, and just areas that I really understand. I understand affiliate, I understand content, I understand SEO, I understand online marketing. My worst investments were the ones on the complete opposite side, where it's areas that I don't really understand. Maybe it's a real estate syndication deal that's in commercial warehousing, and I don't really understand like the intricacies of how you set up a lease for that, right? I understand enough on paper. I used to own a handful of rental properties, but it was all residential. So you start playing in someone else's wheelhouse, and it gets a lot harder to really know what you're investing in, right?
Yeah, totally.
So I know people always talk about diversification. You want to diversify, put your stuff in a bunch of different baskets to keep it safe. Just kind of like how you said on Amazon, some people go left, some people go right, zig and zag. I kind of am like anti-diversification. I'm more like invest in what you know, like areas that I can actually make sure and vet and potentially be able to help the investment. Those have been my home run investments. Whereas the ones that I solely invested in for diversification's sake have been the ones where I failed because I just don't know the space.
Dude, that's what a lot of people say. I think even Warren Buffett, he's like, diversification's for suckers. Like, you want to put all your eggs in one basket and make sure you look like you're protecting that basket. What other contrarian thinking do you have about anything in life right now? Like, I love the way you kind of approach the zigzag approach, like when other people are looking left, I'm looking right. Are there any other things in this moment in time that you're like, I'm gonna, like, everybody thinks it's black, I actually think it's white?
Put me on the spot. Offhand, I can't think of anything too
crazy
out there.
Yeah, that's all right.
Catch something as we're talking. Something will come up and I'll literally interject like I have ADHD with some random contrarian thought, but I'm on the spot. I can't think of anything offhand.
Yeah, fair enough, man. So I wanted to ask you this as well. So with your new brand, when did you start that? Is the kitchen? It's a cleaning supply as well, but it's for dishwashers specifically.
Yeah, so it's a combination of cleaning products. So basically, we had started a activewear specific laundry detergent way back in the day. It was one of the few brands that we held. It's just basically a laundry detergent that was solely developed for activewear fabrics. So that was always kind of sitting there. It wasn't really selling a ton or whatever. And then while we were selling the other business, we launched a washing machine cleaning tablet. Just kind of naturally was something that our manufacturer was able to kind of develop with us. We saw a couple players were doing really well in the space. A company by Whirlpool, OxyClean, and Tide all had like strong products in this space. So we launched it kind of during the exit process of our last brands. and it got good traction. And then after kind of going crazy and doing a bunch of different investments, me and my business partner were like, yo, let's just hop back in this and let's try to scale this business.
Yeah. Which year was this? 2021?
This was 21. Yep. So about 2 years ago. And yeah, so we just started launching different products, everything from a washing machine cleaner, dishwasher cleaning tablets, garbage disposal deodorizer. We've got about 15 new ones coming out over the next 12 months as well, but just a lot of random cleaning products and appliance care type products. Yeah, and it's kind of, and it's went really well. Like I said, I mean, we're competing against a lot of big players. I mean, our top 3 competitors in our industry are Tide, OxyClean, and the Whirlpool Corporation, who owns a brand called A-Fresh. But yeah, so we just kind of leaned heavily into that, and it quickly went from a few $100,000 a month in sales to a couple million to 4, 5, 6 million in a month type sales for these products. So we just kind of leaned heavily into that and pushed hard, and that's kind of been the MO.
Talk to me about, by the way, where do you manufacture these products? China or overseas or locally in US?
Multiple places. So we manufacture some of the products in China. We manufacture some of them stateside. We actually have 3 different manufacturing partners here in the United States. And then we have 2 that we work with in China.
Gotcha.
And a lot of it just comes down to the product itself. So smaller, compact form, simple formulation type stuff, we generally will do over in China because it's not difficult to ship that kind of stuff across the ocean. It doesn't take up a lot of space. It doesn't need a ton of containers. Whereas if it's like a larger format powder in a doi pack, or if it's we have a lot of new liquid products coming out. We don't want to try to ship that kind of stuff across the ocean, deal with all that. So it's kind of a pick and choose based on what the product is. It might be made here, it might be made in China.
Gotcha. And okay, so let's imagine that you guys are like, all right, you guys sat down, you're like, hey, what is the next product? And you guys pick the next product, and you guys find a manufacturer for that product. Talk to me about, I'm really interested in learning about the first 90 days of this launch, right?
Yep.
So talk to me about the pre-launch. Are there any marketing things you guys do in pre-launch, whether that's like building a list and building email lists or reaching out to influencers? What happens on the first month that the product lands in Amazon? What kind of like marketing tactics do you guys do there? And then what happens after like the 90 days, 180 days? What type of marketing do you guys do there?
Yeah, so I mean, we don't have any like super crazy secret sauce or anything. It's just we're reasonably competent at like a handful of different things, right? So before it comes in, obviously you're doing your standard keyword listing building. I mean, getting all that stuff kind of situated, learning the market, if you will, finding the competitor ASINs, and getting everything situated for those ad campaigns on Amazon for the most part, and Google AdWords as well. Build the listing, etc. We're reaching out to, like I said, a lot of our media partners. So we're going to have articles coming out. We're going to have, okay, what's the best washing machine cleaner? And we'll get it published at goodhousekeeping.com. We'll do a bunch of that kind of stuff to really kind of build that base. We'll work with a handful of different influencers that we've had experience with in the past, get them the product before it launches. So we'll get 100 units shipped here ASAP before everything's available, get that off in the hands of people that we know can drive stuff. So as soon as we're ready to launch on Amazon, we're ready to turn it up. Because you get that 30-day roughly window of what would be called like the honeymoon, if you will. And it kind of sets the trajectory of your product. So kind of get all those things situated so we're ready to strike. And then as soon as that product launches, it's boom, we're launching TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all these different advertising channels. And we're putting hundreds of thousands of dollars in spend behind all these things, right?
Oh, wow.
So we're putting a lot of capital into it. Again, that's just kind of the nature of the beast too. We're not picking products that you want to settle in at 30 to 50 or even 100K a month in sales. Like any product we're launching we're trying to compete against Fortune 500 companies. And if we hit and we succeed, it's $1 million plus a month at a minimum for these products.
Right.
Once they kind of hit their mass trajectory. So we're hitting those places extremely hard. We're leaning aggressively into paid traffic and things like that. So there's a combination of different tactics that are involved in doing that, but it's a matter of just scaling all those up.
Talk to us about reviews. What are some review strategies you guys are using right now to get reviews?
We don't have a ton of outside. I mean, so we have the standard follow-up type emails, not the ones that are against terms of service, but the ones that are run through Amazon themselves. We have a large email list of customers that we've built over the last year and a half.
Right.
So, I mean, we got 100,000 people on an email list that have opted in to be in our email list. And we know that those customers are pretty loyal. So by hitting them very early with the email and offering a discount, a promo, whatever, to them during the launch phase, we know we're going to get a handful of strong reviews early on to kind of set the standard.
Gotcha.
And then just the amount of traffic that we're driving, reviews just naturally.
Like even if like 1% end up leaving a review because the amount of traffic you guys are driving. What about, okay, so with regards to influencers, can you talk to us a little bit about your influencer marketing strategy? How do you find influencers, and do you pay them right off the bat, or do you give them a free product? Do you give them a script? Like, talk to us a little bit about the influencer side of things.
Yeah, so it's a kind of individualized process based on who the influencer is and who we're trying to work with. But generally, we'll pay them off the bat, and we'll obviously send them the product too. And we try to find influencers that resonate with our kind of customer base. So cleaning products, if you're finding the clean talk type people, I mean, and then we're just directly reaching out to them. And thankfully, due to some success in the past, a lot of these people in this niche know who we are. Right. Which makes it a lot easier. I feel like it'd be very difficult to get a lot of these people on board to work with you if they had no clue who you were and they're just getting outreach. Because a lot of these influencers are getting 1 million messages a day, right?
Yeah.
But like a lot of our posts on TikTok have 60 million views and they've been shared a bajillion times, right? So these people have seen us, they know about us, and that's how we've kind of been able to kind of, I guess, infiltrate the community, if you will. And then we pay them off the bat. We'll always offer them a good amount of money off for the initial post or two. And then, because again, if we find someone and we pay them $5,000 for a post, a video, whatever, it doesn't work, we're out $5,000. But if it works, we know that that's going to generate us 1 million plus in sales. So we can strike out a bunch and still be successful.
Right. And when do you cut a product? I'm sure you've had, not every single product you've had like was a winner, unless I'm wrong.
For this brand, we haven't cut one yet.
Wow.
I don't think we will. So we have a couple right now that we're reformulating and redeveloping, which we're going to have to just launch under a completely new ASIN. Like
Gotcha.
The ASIN itself is burned. You can go look at our listing. You can see probably the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Just a horrible formulation. We didn't put enough time into it when we made it, but we'll fix it. So, but again, I mean, we're not launching a ton of products. We're not trying to have a portfolio of 100 products, right? We want 30 really, really good, strong products in this portfolio. So we're willing to put the time and effort in it. And if it's one of the ones that has made the list that we want, we're going to figure out a way to make it successful.
Gotcha.
We know these products sell. We know there's people in this space making 1 million, 2 million, 5 million a month off this product. We're going to keep grinding on it until we figure it out.
Right. So, okay. So what do you look for again? You look for basically the market size.
Yep.
You look for demand. You look for something that is not sexy, something that these big conglomerates are playing in, so they move really, really slow. You look for maybe like repeat orders, like that could be
I think
LTV
repeat orders. Yep, and then also something that's very easy cross sell. So one of our most successful ad campaigns right now that we run is just through the Amazon demand side platform, and that's essentially just marketing our new products through the DSP to customers who bought other products of ours, right? So we know if somebody's purchased just through like Amazon Marketing Cloud, we know that if somebody has purchased one of our products in the past, they're 400% more likely to purchase our new product versus somebody from the exact same demographic. So our ROAS is 4x as good for anybody who's already purchased one of our products. So we try to find products that'll correlate and be able to cross-sell across this portfolio.
And are you spending a lot of time optimizing the Amazon side of things to try to like tweak certain things and get the conversion rate to go up by 1 to 2%, which at your traffic, I'm sure that's worth a lot of money? Or are you spending more time kind of experimenting with other like external traffic sources? Yeah.
So again, I think both have a lot of validity of where you could put your time and efforts. We concentrate generally on more external. External is so much more scalable. There's only so much optimization you can do to a listing, and you start chasing like the smallest fractions of better. And sometimes it's really hard to know if it's better or not. I mean, we run Amazon experiments constantly, but like after you kind of take out all that low hanging fruit, a lot of the time you'll run an experiment for 4 weeks and you'll look at it and you'll go, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's better or worse. Right. So one thing that we do know is that Amazon rewards external traffic exponentially. I mean, internally, we kind of think it's probably 3 times the value. So if I drive a keyword conversion from an external source and it's like a Google search term, for example, coming through, they'll take that search term that was searched in Google. They will put it into their algorithm and rank us for said query in their search algorithm as well. And it seems to be 3 times as valuable to us as someone searching that term, search, find, buy on Amazon if we bring it from an external source.
Yeah,
so
makes sense.
We just kind of leaned aggressively into trying to figure out more and more and more ways and channels to drive external traffic, and then everything else just seems to kind of fall in place.
And for someone, like I have a lot of students that maybe they're doing 20, 50, 100K a month on Amazon right now. They maximize all the things there is on Amazon, PPC, DSP, just like A/B testing, everything. And like, okay, wow, Steven said external traffic. I want to do external traffic as well. There are so many different ways to do external traffic. A million different ways. Like for someone who's just getting started on the external traffic side of things, which platform would you recommend, or what are some of the top platforms you recommend for them to sink their teeth into? Yeah.
So, basically the biggest thing I tell everybody that asks me this is you got to figure out where your skill set aligns best, because we have 10 different ways that we're driving external traffic, and all of them can be very effective. The one that I would say is probably the easiest for somebody who's competent on Amazon is moving just to Google AdWords, because if you know how to run Amazon PPC with keyword-based terms, search terms, you can just take a lot of that and move it directly to AdWords and do really well. And you can even, one thing that we do right off the bat is we'll take our 50 to 100 top converting terms from an Amazon exact match PPC campaign, go set up a Google AdWords campaign, exact match, and just throw the word Amazon in front of every one of those search terms, and our ROAS is great. So it's Amazon washing machine cleaner, right, Amazon dishwasher descaler, whatever. Because that person's exactly looking to buy X product on Amazon. Conversion rates are extremely high, and the value of that one conversion is way better than the value of that one conversion on Amazon. Because you got to think about it from Amazon's standpoint too. Again, in incentives, right?
Yeah.
What good does Amazon really get from you ranking number one on their platform for mop versus somebody else? If somebody comes and they search on Amazon for a mop, Amazon doesn't really care if it's your mop that sells, if it's that person's. Amazon's getting their cut and they're making their money no matter what, right? So if you're just concentrating on platform and trying to rank on Amazon and do all that, you're essentially just kind of like sucking on Amazon's tit, and you're not providing anything back to Amazon.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas for Amazon, if you're driving external people that were not on platform onto platform, that's someone who's more likely now to sign up for Prime, someone who's more likely to purchase 3 or 4 other items in their cart because they want to get their free shipping.
Yeah.
That's someone who's now they have a new data set too. They have more data from somebody who you brought onto the platform. There's so many reasons that Amazon should be and will continue to reward people who can bring people into their ecosystem. So if you concentrate, which again, I think is the way everybody should start by making sure that you're killing it and you got all your T's crossed and I's dotted on platform, but you're never going to become a multi-million-dollar seller if you only concentrate on platform. And every single year that goes by, you're going to get less and less. There's going to be more sponsored spots. There's going to be more things that are kind of being done to have you stop taking so much unless you're driving them value.
And what link do you use when you're sending all that traffic back to Amazon?
It varies based on what we're doing. We don't really mess with super URLs too much anymore, just because, again, the terms of service, it's kind of gray area.
Well, at this point, your company is so big, you also don't want to
take that risk.
It's too big of a risk for you to take, right? For such a small thing.
Small boost, exactly.
So you use attribution link, like Amazon, like what type of
Amazon attribution? We run a ton of Amazon attribution. So we're running Amazon attribution for everything. I think we get it we probably have $400,000 in brand referral bonuses every month right now. we have so much, because we're running so much traffic from external sources. So a ton of that. I'm trying to think of anything in particular we do with the links that would make it unique. As long as you're using Google AdWords and stuff too, they pass that sub ID and that click ID and that search term back to Amazon. So you don't have to do too much there. You can use tools like Amped if you want to kind of help set it up and do all that stuff.
Gotcha.
There's other ways too. If you're competent at programming, you can just connect to the advertising API and set it all up yourself too. But
gotcha. I got 2 more questions for you. The first one's a short one. If you had to keep, if someone held a gun to your head and said, "Hey, you can only keep either your Lamborghini or your boat, which one would you keep?"
I'll keep the Lamborghini a second. I hate that boat. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't been on my boat in probably 2 months. It's just too much of a headache.
So you don't recommend buying a boat?
No, I recommend becoming friends with someone who has a boat.
Yeah.
That's the best move.
Yeah.
Just trying to deal with it. You can never get stuff fixed. I haven't had a bathroom. We have a bathroom on the boat and like a bedroom. The bedroom's AC's been out all summer.
Yeah.
And they can't get it fixed for 6 months. The bathroom has been non-functional since May.
Yeah.
Right? Boats suck.
Gotcha.
So,
Fair enough. All right. And then my second question to you is, the last question for you is, I think financially speaking, you're, 0.01%, in the entire world. You've reached the pinnacle of success, in my opinion. And of course, there's always more that you can get. But what keeps you, because the thing is, after I sold the business and I have FBA Masterclass going on, I bought everything that I ever wanted to buy. Well, not really. Like, there's still some things that I want to buy. Yeah, but like most of it, like I checked off most of the boxes. I became very comfortable because money to me now is not as big of a motivator as it was before, as it was once. Before, dude, I will get up. If you're telling me I can make $1,000 today, dude, I'll get up at 3 a.m. and go make the $1,000 and go shoveling snow in the driveway, like whatever it takes. Yeah. You know what I mean? Now I'm like, whatever. What keeps you motivated in this game, especially the fact that you sell products that you don't even enjoy selling, like you don't even like? Yeah.
I think it's competition, man. Again, we're kind of bringing it full circle back. What we talked about at the beginning of this entire thing was I like to compete. Again, money is awesome. I love money. Don't get me wrong. I just got a psychologist who scolded me for it when I was 6.
Hey, he's a good psychologist. You should go back. Be like, dude, you called it bang on, man.
Yeah, he's
5-star review on Google right there.
Yeah. If he's still alive, yes. But yeah, so I think it's the competition. Like it's really, really fun. I don't get excited by an extra 100K in sales. I get really excited if I see that we pass somebody in ranks. If I see that we moved into the bestseller. When I saw us during Prime Day, I think we hit number 3 on all of Amazon in sales for one of our products. That was really exciting. And it wasn't about the money as much as it was about the competition and winning and building something. I think that's the main driving force. And I think most entrepreneurs too, like even like you said, Tom, you got that money, you did really well. Obviously you were set for life.
Yeah.
But you kept doing stuff because you take a few months and then you get an itch, right? I figured, you know what, if I sell this next one and I get 100 million, whatever, I'll be good. I'll be done. But I can tell you, if I'm being honest to myself, a year in, I'm going to be like, no, I want to go do something again. Yeah. I can't sit down. I can't do whatever. I think anybody who's capable of making eight figures is the kind of person who's probably not going to stop at 8 figures.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. That's awesome. All right, brother. Well, I appreciate you coming on the pod. That was a lot of fun. Man, there was so much golden nuggets that was dropped. I love the tactical things. And dude, you're one of those guys that there are a lot of silent killers on Amazon, like people that never come out of their cave. And it's always very interesting to hear their side of the story and see how they did it. Because nowadays on YouTube, like all the, there's a lot of influencers or whatever, but you're one of those guys that's like always behind the shadows and just like, this is your first time coming out. And it's really, really cool to hear what you have to say. And I'm sure the viewers appreciate that as well. So yeah, man, any last words at all for anybody listening?
No, man, thank you for getting me on here. Like I said, this is the first time I've kind of come out of my cage other than people who've met me in person. You don't see me online. I'm very hard to find. So
yeah, you don't have you don't even have an Instagram picture.
No,
you got one.
I don't.
Yeah,
I got one, I think. So thanks for having me on here. Hopefully my incoherent ramblings weren't too out there. So hopefully you're able to pull something from it.
Yeah, I'm sure I will. All right, guys. Well, if you've seen the end, thank you so much. And drop a like, drop a comment, do whatever you guys got to do and keep this podcast going. Appreciate your time, Steven.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me.